Hello, my friends. It's Monday, August 17th, 2026, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. I'm your host, Radical Russ Belville, your patriotic, progressive, red state refugee, and welcome to the Radical Russ Show, coming to you from Rolla J Studios in Southern Oregon. On today's smoke session, we're going to do things a little bit differently. First of all, you notice I say today. That's because I'm going to get back into my habit of recording these things on a weekday basis. But we're going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to do a little more stream of consciousness. You know, I've been doing podcasting and before that radio broadcasting since 2006. This is my 20th year. And I keep trying to do this like a fully produced radio show. And I tell you, that takes a lot of effort. Got to do a lot of cutting and clipping and editing. So in order to do this on a daily basis, and also because I've been watching and listening to a lot of podcasts lately that seem to take a lot less effort, either that or they got much larger staff than just me. Anyway, what this all means, I'm going to do this a little more stream of consciousness, a little more just get up and talk about what I feel about, and try to do it every day. So welcome to the adventure.
Save the cheerleader. Save the world.
Save the cheerleader.
Then save the world.
Save the cheerleader.
Which is why you can no longer save the world.
I noticed that the big story this morning, people waking up to the news that the actress Hayden Panettiere has passed away at the age of 36. She was brought to our attention from that great 2000s TV show Heroes. You remember that? Save the cheerleader, save the world was the tagline. A great show, kind of faltered in its later seasons, but the first couple seasons were great. And there's some speculation here because there was no cause of death listed, but by all accounts, she was a young, healthy 36-year-old woman. So it doesn't seem like it was an accident. And there's many reports of her and in her memoirs talking about the abuse that she had suffered in Hollywood, how she had been trafficked in Hollywood, how she had suffered and struggled with addiction. And one of the things I know is that when it comes to addiction to hard, dangerous drugs, one of the most dangerous times that you can face is a relapse after getting sober. Because the addict gets sober and then they lose all their tolerance that they had built up for the use of that drug. And then they relapse and they use that drug again back at the levels they used to use it, and they end up overdosing. So that's my theory here for the death of Hayden Panettiere. I don't have any information. This is just speculation, but it's kind of the same way Philip Seymour Hoffman went out. So just sad story, and I'm sad for all her friends and family and fans who are missing out on Hayden Panettiere today.
She knows he's dead.
What if no one knows he's dead?
Somebody knows he's dead, okay?
No.
Yeah, he's dead, all right.
I'm alive and he's dead.
Yeah, she asked where he is, and he knows he's dead.
Because he's dead, Jim.
You have been writing letters and trying to get updates on the status of Senator Mitch McConnell. Have you heard anything back from his office on how he's doing?
I've heard absolutely nothing back from Mitch McConnell. And while I do hope that he is getting better, I've known him my entire life. I wish him no harm. I actually wish him good health. His boss are the people of Kentucky. And this is why the Senate, the Republican-controlled Senate, feels so broken. They feel like they're not accountable to anyone. All he needs to do is call into this show for 2 minutes, or Fox News for 2 minutes, or do a video for 2 minutes to the people he's supposed to serve. But you know what? He absolutely refuses to do it. And then John.
So that's Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky on Face the Nation complaining that the people of Kentucky are without a Senate representative in the Missing Mitch McConnell. And the people of Kentucky really ought to be represented by someone in the Senate. And gosh, if there was just someone who was the leader of the people of Kentucky sitting in the gubernatorial office who has the constitutional right to appoint someone to a vacant seat would do something. God, no one has fallen farther in my 2028 presidential standings than Andy Beshear. sitting here complaining and whining that he hasn't heard from Mitch McConnell, a helpless spectator in this debacle. It's just insane. March your ass down there to the hospital, march your ass to Mitch McConnell's place, wherever they've got him propped up at this point, and demand to see him. Do something.
It's hot enough to melt the balls off a brass monkey. It's hot enough to burn holes in your britches.
It's hot, it already smells like a hog pen.
It's hot enough to fry a sausage.
It's hot enough to pop corn.
People are actually dying. It's so hot.
A lot of posts out there about the climate crisis, the climate catastrophe that we are currently undergoing. It's here, folks. If the fires around my neighborhood are any indication, all these headlines of the state fairs that are postponing their events or moving them later or canceling them altogether just because of the massive heat that everyone is experiencing here. And the Tennessee Holler, one of these newspapers is posting these headlines, asks the question, at what point will folks realize the climate crisis is real? Well, I'll tell you when. When there's no more outdoor baseball and football games. When they stop scheduling NFL games outdoors in the daylight in September. That's when people start to pay attention to this, when it starts to affect their sports. When they can't play soccer or baseball or football outdoors because players would die from heat stroke. That's when you'll start to see some change.
You know the law, Hakeem.
Hakeem would like to be a part of it.
Hakeem is not much of a student.
Hakeem sorted it all, he organised it all.
This is something that should be second nature to you, Mr. Hakeem. Something that should be in your bloodstream by now, like part of your testicles.
Do Democratic Socialists belong in the Democratic Party, Leader Jeffries?
Well, what I can say is that I do not support defunding the police. I do not support open borders. I do not support abolishing the Senate. We're focused on actually solving problems that hardworking American taxpayers want us to solve, which is to lower the high cost of living in a situation where life is far too expensive.
Okay, that's Hakeem Jeffries on Meet the Press, embarrassing himself as usual by stepping right up to the plate. Kristen Welker lobs him some right-wing softballs there. Do Democratic Socialists belong in the Democratic Party? And Hakeem couldn't punch to the left fast enough, could he? Oh, I don't support open borders and defunding the police and abolishing the Senate and canceling Thanksgiving and sacrificing the firstborn children and whatever the hell else they think that democratic socialism stands for. There goes the leader of the Democratic Party, poised to take control of the House this coming midterm election, openly castigating the energy and the youthful enthusiasm in his party by parroting the right-wing talking points against them. He could have just as easily come out and said, well, Christian, we're a big tent party here in the Democratic Party. We certainly welcome the enthusiasm of the Democratic Socialists who are involved here. We may not agree on all their perspectives, but we do agree that Donald Trump is an existential threat to the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of all Americans, and that we will all band together, moderates, centrists, liberals, progressives, and socialists, to defeat fascism in November. There. Was that so hard, Hakeem? But what Hakeem's got going here is the fear of the loss of his own power. He is playing New York politics. He's not playing local or national politics at this point. He's not thinking of the national Democratic Party. He's worried about Zoran Mamdani. He's worried about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He's worried about the progressive that won in New York State, the ones that were endorsed by Zoran Mamdani. He's worried about Mamdani and the other Democratic Socialists who keep getting shit done. I saw a post come up where Mamdani has put up garbage bins in New York City. No more. I remember when I went to New York City. I've been to New York City a couple times, and this was in the 90s, and then in 2016. So I've been in New York City a couple times, and both in the 90s and 2016, the thing that I was stunned by was walking down the street and just seeing piles, 10-foot high piles of black garbage bags on the street. Like, what the hell is that? Well, that's how they pick up the garbage. Well, of course there's rats and things running around. We got piles of garbage lying on the street. But no, Mamdani comes out, finally gets bins. Actual plastic rat-proof garbage bins for people. And the Post is like, wow, what were other mayors doing? Like, Mamdani gets shit done. Potholes get filled. Kids get free pre-K. The shit gets done under Mamdani. And that's the thing that the Jeffries and the Schumers of the world fear, is losing their institutional power, losing the power to keep sucking up that AIPAC money, getting all that big donor money from crypto bros and finance bros and AI. They don't want to lose their institutional power. And they don't want to lose their position as being the brake on the ratchet that allows America to keep twisting toward right-wing fascism. The Overton window doesn't move so far to the right without the Democratic Party not pulling it back toward the left. And it's time we start pulling it back toward the left. No more of these half measures. We want to go somewhere forward on medical care for everyone, but just so long as we allow the insurance middlemen to continue taking their cut and making massive donations to us. That's what you sound like, Hakeem Jeffries. We're all sick of you, and my God, if you think the organizing power of the left wing in Democratic politics has worked well for primaries so far, wait till you see what it does for the election of the Speaker of the House come this January.
Hey, gotta support the troops.
Chance to lick your boots.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Can you really support the troops?
Thank you, sir. May I have another, sir?
Support the troops, huh?
This Pete Hegseth Navy USS Abraham Lincoln scandal that is going on, where the sailors and the Marines have been deployed for over 9 months with no port of call at all, stuck on an aircraft carrier the size of 2 football fields with 5,000 other people with nowhere to go. So sailors and Marines, mental health being tried like never before. We got some of them trying to jump overboard to kill themselves. They're talking about moldy food. One dinner being served a half cup of rice and a couple of tortillas. This is how they treat the troops. So, of course, Hegseth has to get out there and say, oh, no, they're doing fine. They showed a month-old clip of sailors getting ice cream on the mess deck. See, everything's just fine. That was way back in July, while they were already, out to sea for far too long. But this is how they treat the troops, folks. This is what you voted for, you MAGAs. Everyone you MAGAs out there that's a veteran should be ashamed of yourself for how they're treating our sailors and our Marines. And I'm sure our soldiers and Guard as well. But this whole MAGA operation, this whole Donald Trump administration, when you take a 10,000-foot view at it, you take a meta look at it, it kind of feels like a humiliation kink, doesn't it? It almost feels like Donald Trump is purposefully trying to see just how much he can completely humiliate every Republican that ever supported him. Support the troops? Oh, you guys are all support the troops. I'll tell you what, I'm going to abandon the troops. I'm going to call John McCain a loser for being shot down. I'm going to call other troops suckers and losers for dying in battle in Europe. How do you like that? Support the troops, right? Strong military? Oh, you think we should be a strong military? I'm going to make the Navy take out all of their electromagnetic catapults for launching ships off of aircraft carriers and make them go back to old 20th century steam technology. That's it. Take our aircraft carriers offline, put them in dry dock for God knows how many weeks or months it takes to do this, and retrofit them with old technology. Back to the future, I suppose. We're going to go back to steam catapults. Hey, how about we get some trebuchets for our artillery guys? You know, instead of the mortars, they can just launch boulders off a trebuchet if we're going to go back to basics, huh? No more of these M4 semi-automatic rifles. You guys get bolt action. Hell, send them back to muskets. Let's go full 1776 on this, Pete Hegseth. Good Lord. Lower prices? Yeah, that's what you voted for me for lower prices? I'm going to put on tariffs and raise all your prices to double what they were before I got into office. How do you think of that? No new wars. Oh, yeah, no new wars. I'm going to invade Venezuela and kidnap a guy, and then I'm going to start a whole nother new war in Iran to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon, which they didn't have and weren't going to have because President Obama secured that deal, but Obama was a black guy, so I got to get rid of that. And now Iran is going to control the Strait of Hormuz, is going to charge tolls, is going to demand the United States repay it $300 billion. You've never been so humiliated. Even the ghosts of Ho Chi Minh here must be saying, my God, this is pretty humiliating for the United States. You want to make America healthy again? Oh, sure. Here, have some diarrhea lettuce. Here's some diarrhea salsa. Have some diarrhea jalapenos. We're just going to let all your food get poisoned. How about that? Oh, release the Epstein files and go after all that criminal cabal of pedophiles that are running Hollywood and politics? Who's that? Epstein who? Never heard of the guy. Oh, you believe in God and Jesus. You love the Holy Bible. Here, let me sign one for you. Deficits. Oh, you hate deficits? How about I contribute 40% of our $39 trillion deficit? How about that? And meanwhile, all of the tread on me daddy Republicans are like, thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another? I swear to God, we have this guy in Grants Pass, old disabled guy. He's missing lower part of his left leg. Has one of these wheelchairs, pretty nice one of the ones that the seat will like pivot, raise up so he can kind of sit up high. And this guy's in one of two places every damn day. He's either at the Walmart parking lot, kind of parked on the far side where all the RVs, park out of the way, right? Or he's parked on this corner of this road that kind of takes a corner out in the hills, kind of south of Grants Pass. Probably close to where he lives, I assume. But anyway, this old guy sits out there all day in his wheelchair with a big Donald Trump MAGA flag flying. He's out there every day. And I don't bother the guy or talk to him because, he's probably got plenty of his own problems. But they're still out there after all of this. After ICE killing Americans in the streets. After being adjudicated a rapist and forced to pay $5 million for that rape and soon $90 million for defaming the woman that he raped. After all the credible allegations in the Epstein files, Katie Johnson, the 13-year-old girl who bit him on the dick and then he slapped her, punched her. After everything, there's still MAGA out there that are 100% down for Donald J. Trump. And it really just comes down to the fact that they're trying to take their country back. And this is something I wanted to get into. This whole idea of take our country back. You hear that a lot from the MAGAs. Take our country back. Make America great again. Which infers that America sucks now. I don't think the MAGA people ever think of that. When you're wearing a MAGA hat, you're basically wearing a hat that says America sucks now. Because if it's not great now, if you have to make it great again, it's not great now. So it must suck now. So America sucks. You're wearing a hat that says America sucks. And the reason they think America sucks is because they believe that the whole point of America was that God ordained a place for persecuted, straight, white, Christian landowning men to be able to have a continent that was their manifest destiny to occupy from coast to coast. They believe that whole we the people The whole Declaration of Independence, the whole Constitution was written by straight white landowning Christian men for the benefit of straight white landowning Christian men. That this was the country for straight white Christian landowning men to be able to be a country for themselves. They believe when they wrote all men are created equal, it was understood we meant men. And that men did not mean the blacks or the merciless Indian savages or the women or the children or the immigrants. It meant the men who were writing it, who were all white landowning men. So from their point of view, the original purpose of America has been perverted in the 20th century by the civil rights movement, by the women's rights movements, by the gay rights movement. They want to go all the way prior to the 19th Amendment. They want to get rid of women voting, much less black people and immigrants. They feel that we are the ones that betrayed the original vision of America, and they need to take America back to that original vision where there is a home for straight white Christian men. And what we need to do on our side is to recognize they are completely wrong and that the true vision of America is a progressive vision. There is nothing more progressive in the history of the world than the dedication of the United States of America to the ideals that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these, not limited to, among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that government is only proper under the just consent of the governed. Now, the fact that at that time, all men are created equal just meant white, straight, landowning men does not make it any less of a progressive ideal. Because understand, at that time, even the white, straight, Christian landowning men weren't equal. There were kings and there were popes. And there was divine birthright. And that it was ordained by God that some people should be leaders and some people could never be leaders. So the idea that we could just govern ourselves, that God didn't have to enter into it, that a king didn't have to enter it, we could choose among ourselves our own leaders and organize our own constitution to arrange how we would govern ourselves, was a radically progressive idea in 1776. It was insanely radically progressive. That is the birthright of America, this progressive ideal that we can govern ourselves and that we can be equals. And it's taken 250 years of struggle to finally get us toward that progressive ideal of all men, all humans being created equal, regardless of the color of their skin, their religion, or their socioeconomic status. We are the ones who must take America back to a progressive ideal. The whole idea of America is progress, is moving forward, is evolution, is the continued granting of rights and recognition of freedoms, not restricting freedoms, not imprisoning and punishing and revoking rights as we've been doing in this Trump era. I believe our high watermark is 2015 in the Obergefell decision that legalized same-sex marriage. That's the most rights we've had in America was 2015, prior to the Dobbs decision getting rid of women's right to control their own bodies. We've never been any better than 2015. Prior to Trump, prior to everything, that was our high watermark. And we need to go back to that. We need to get back to that state. Democrats, progressives, liberals, socialists, whatever we're going to call ourselves on the left, need to start having some patriotism about this because it's our country. This is our birthright, not the Nazis, not the MAGAs, not the Confederates. These are the sons and daughters of the Confederacy, sons and daughters of the royalists who supported the crown during the Revolution. They are the enemy. There's nothing American about them. MAGA is an un-American movement. Their movement comes right out and says it. America sucks right now. We think America sucks. So let's get some patriotism and some progressive pride going and understand that what we're fighting for is the legacy of America, the legacy of John Brown and Harriet Tubman, and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Those are the people who fought for what America should be. Susan B. Anthony, Marsha P. Johnson, Harvey Milk, the people who fight for the marginalized. Well, that's what I always believed about America, too, is that we stood for the underdog. We stood for the oppressed. That when people need asylum, they could turn to us. That's the America we need to fight for, that progressive vision. That we are the future. We are the prequel to the Star Trek utopia that we all wish to live in. And it's time for Democrats like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to recognize and name the enemy. Obama does this too, this whole, we need a strong Republican Party. I remember the days of a strong Republican Party. It's good to have a strong Republican Party. Why? What good have we ever gotten from a strong Republican Party? The strongest the Republican Party's ever been was the 12 years of Reagan-Bush. How well did that work out for America? Had a strong Republican Party during the times of George W. Bush. How'd that work out for America? Republican Party's pretty damn strong under Donald Trump. How's that working for America? No more of this, we need a strong Republican Party. Never do they think that. Never do you hear a Republican say, boy, we need a good, strong Democratic Party. It's so healthy for us to have our friends on the left side of the aisle. We might not agree on anything, but we and the Democrats can work together to... Have you ever heard a Republican say that? But you hear it every day from Democrats. We can work with our Republican friends. We can seek bipartisan solutions. We can reach across the aisle. God. For the average normie out there that pays no attention to politics and just hears all the blabbering on the TV and the talking heads on the radio, they hear one side say, well, we can work with the other side. We have some good ideas, but we can work with the other side. And then they hear the other side say, oh, those other guys, they're evil, America-hating, pet-eating, terrible, anti-American communists that must be defeated and destroyed. But we have some good ideas. So the normie hears from the Democrats that Democrats are good and the Republicans are okay too. And then they hear from Republicans that Republicans are great and Democrats absolutely suck and are evil. So the predominant thing they hear is that Republicans are good. Both parties think so. And Democrats suck because half the parties think so. So, Hakeem, name the enemy. The enemy is Donald Trump. The enemy is Republicans. The enemy is MAGA. The enemy is conservatism. Quit thinking that Americans out there are some sort of center-right country when all the polls show on issue after issue after issue the things that Democrats should be supporting are in the 60 to 80% public support range. Now, they're not in the 60 to 80% corporate support range, which probably explains Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
This investigation of pre-crime and its personnel is being conducted under the direct supervision and express permission from the Attorney General of the United States.
The Attorney General has affirmed the legitimacy of this proceeding.
This is a pardon or release contract from the Attorney General's office.
The President isn't a client of the Attorney General.
Oh, and of course the Senate has confirmed the President's consigliere as the Attorney General. Bill Cassidy, the senator from Louisiana? Yeah, he's the other one from Louisiana. The doctor who gave us RFK Jr. was the deciding vote on giving us Todd Blanche as the Attorney General. So we've got the Attorney General, and the very first thing he does as the confirmed Attorney General of the United States is speak at a political rally to endorse Bruce Blakeman. Somebody running from Congress, I guess. So a political rally with the president and the Attorney General speaking at it, and behind him is a wall of cops that they have in the audience. Nothing to see here. Just the fascist leader and his top cop with a bunch of cops behind him, all supporting a political cause in gross violation of the Hatch Act. So the very first thing he does as confirmed Attorney General is violate a federal law. Very first thing. And then on Meet the Press, Christian Walker's pressing him on, would you ever do anything counter to what, or would you ever just be the president's yes man? And no, I would be completely independent, of course. No, he didn't say that, actually. He wouldn't commit to being independent of the president. So good job, Republicans. If any of you Republicans had a spine, you could stand up to this at any time. But since Mitch McConnell gave you the go-ahead to not convict him in the January 6th impeachment, ever since then, you've all been a bunch of scared little babies. People making a point of Bill Cassidy up there giving his speech about supporting Blanche and how he was choking up. Like he was having regrets. He really didn't want to have to do it, but gosh darn it, I just had to. There's nothing we can do to rein in this president. Because they're afraid of death. The president's already sent a mob to kill them once. I'm serious. I swear to God, when we finally exit this Trump era and the NDAs are released and Trump is dead and out of power, we're going to learn that there were direct threats, like actionable threats to senators' kids, mob-style pictures, with a long lens of the kid at his school. Be a shame if anything should happen to your kid. Be a shame if a mass shooter showed up at your school. Whatever. They're terrified. Bunch of cowards.
She just got involved in a women's sports league.
What we're doing to these women, the entire concept of women's sports is wrong.
The idea that men are transitioning to become women so they can dominate women's sports. Like, pick up all those amazing perks you get in women's sports.
And then there's Democrats and the transgender issue. I gotta talk a little bit more about this. There's a Sarah Trone Garrett, who's running for Congress. I don't know what state she's running in. It doesn't matter. The screenshot is from one of her ads, one of her political ads, and she's this blonde woman in a little red long sleeve sweater, shirt, something. Sarah for Congress in the bottom left corner. In the bottom right, the text of her ad says, "Oppose men in women's locker rooms." I had to look at the ad twice to make sure this is the Democrat running. The Democrat is using the right-wing framing on the transgender sports issue. Oppose men in women's locker rooms. This idea. We Democrats have to be a big tent. So what do we stand for? Do we stand for the rights of oppressed people? Is that what Democrats stand for? If someone came along and had a bill for your state, Sarah Trone Garrett, that said, whereas only one white man in all history has run a 100-meter dash faster than 10 seconds, and whereas track and field sprinting seems to be dominated by athletes with African American heritage, and whereas we seek to have a fair playing field for all children in our sports, regardless of race, therefore be it resolved that no more than 2 black kids can run in any 100-meter dash in the state. For fairness, of course. Where would you be on that, Sarah Trone Garrett? The bill to limit the number of black kids that can run in track, because too many of them are winning. They're just too dominant. We call it the Fair Races for White Kids Act. Where are we on that, Sarah? Because you seem to be fine with banning one particular class of kids from running in track. The trans kids, they can't play sports because it wouldn't be fair. They might have a biological advantage over the girls, you see. So what about the biological advantage that the black kids have over the white kids? We can do something about that? No, because that would be fucking racist. Just like this ban on opposing men in women's locker rooms is fucking transphobic. The only way that people have this thought, it really comes down to a very simple question. Do transgender people exist? Do they exist? Are there transgender people? Is there a set of people who have an intense feeling that can only be resolved by dressing and acting as a member of the sex opposite to the one they were born with? Do they exist? Do they exist? Well, yes, obviously they exist. Obviously there exists and have existed in all recorded human history people for whom dressing and acting as the other gender is what makes them feel themselves. Okay. Now, if they exist, what's the nature of that existence? Why are they trans? Is it, one, just an innate thing, just something in their brains that makes them want to be the other sex, other gender, or are they faking it? They're faking it. And that's where these people like Sarah Trone Garriott, this Democratic candidate, come up with this oppose men in women's locker rooms, because to them, there is no such thing as a transgender woman. It's a man who's faking it. That's how they see transgender people. They're men who are faking it. Now, are they faking it consciously for nefarious purposes? Well, that's what they think. That's why they're opposing the men in women's locker rooms, because those men must be predatory. They must be doing something evil. They must be pervs. That's another angle of the whole transgender thing. Notice it's always against transgender women, not transgender men. Nobody gives a shit about transgender men. Mostly because transgender men pass really well. But transgender women, oh my God, that's a problem, because the people on that side of the argument don't see women as equals either. They see women as sex objects. So if you're a man trying to be a woman, you're giving up being a human being with agency for being a sex object? You must be doing it for some sexual perverse reason. It must be a kink. That's how they see trans people. Or when we're talking about the kids, they see it as a social contagion. They see it as a fad that's going around, like the ice bucket challenge or something. All these kids want to be trans now. Instead of the more obvious recognition that, hey, once you're allowed to be who you are, more people are going to be who they are. Once you don't force people into the closet, you will see more of them. And then this dovetails into this whole Royce White and Enos Cantor thing about wanting to join the WNBA. Because they don't say who has a woman, so I guess I'm a woman and I can join the WNBA. Ha, ha, ha. Well, first of all, they play defense in the WNBA, so neither one of you two guys is going to work worth a damn. But this fear, what if they play the hypothetical? What if LeBron decides that he's a woman, he wants to join the WNBA? Okay. Go ahead. Is that happening? Is it happening? No. Is there any transgender player in the WNBA? No. Is there any on the horizon looking to join the WNBA? No. No. See, what they can't get past is the fact that transgender people exist, and they do not exist through choice. They're not deciding or choosing to fake anything. They're not acting on any sort of sexual impulse. It's who they feel they are. And how they feel that, why they feel that, to me, doesn't even really enter into it. You know, on the left, we have this thing where you say trans women are women. I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea. Trans women are women. Then what's the word trans for? It's the trans part's not necessary if trans women are women. If women are women, then they're women. Trans women are a kind of woman. A woman who was born into a male body. And that does make a difference. But it's not the kind of difference that we can't work with, that we can't accommodate. Now, if half of all guys out there were internally trans and we're going to suddenly join girl sports, and half of all competitors in girl sports would be trans, okay, maybe that would be a big problem to have to work out for fairness and safety and all. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about one or two in a state, maybe. Like, we can't handle one exception. We can't make room for one. We should have to turn to any trans person and consider too that not all trans people are going to want to be athletes either, right? You're talking about the small subset of people who are trans, and then an even smaller subset of trans people who are athletic, and then an even smaller subset of them who might be good enough to make the team, etc. So it just breaks my heart to see a Democratic candidate here echoing right-wing talking points on transgender issues, calling them men in women's locker rooms. But I guess she's just following along the leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who uses the right-wing talking points against the progressives in the party with open borders and defund the police and such. You know, the DNC, Democratic National Committee, just recently held a vote for its party platform, for the Democratic Party platform, and overwhelmingly agreed that we should abolish ICE. Abolish ICE. Get rid of ICE entirely. Burn it down to the ground. Start from scratch with a new Immigration and Nationalization Service. Hakeem Jeffries, on that same Meet the Press, wouldn't commit to abolishing ICE. Said, well, it needs reforms. Gosh, we need to, I don't know, put some body cams on them. When ICE has already got their own media teams following them and live streaming them to Beastie Boys soundtracks. But yeah, sure, some body cams will help. What's next, Hakeem? Some QR codes on their shock gloves? Another clip that came across here. Shane Gillis, that comedian who went all MAGA and showed up at Trump's UFC fights and all that. I think he was not one of the ones to do the Riyadh Comedy Festival, though. I think he was smart enough to bow out of that one. But anyway, Shane Gillis, the MAGA adjacent comedian, was on Joe Rogan's podcast. Shane Gillis says, back then, when I was taking that picture with Trump, he's trying to distance himself from Trump here. Back then, when I was taking that picture, I was like, this guy's going to release the Epstein files and no more wars. I like that. Also, I still didn't vote for him. Yeah, but you supported him. You gave your celebrity support to the guy. These guys coming back from 2020, their 2024 vote in the manosphere, all these broadcasters. I was fooled. He was saying no new wars and lower prices and release the Epstein files. So I thought all that was good and I voted for him. You know, after the insurrection where he sent a mob to beat cops and tried to kill the vice president and speaker of the House, after he had been caught in his home with thousands and thousands of top secret documents in his shitter after he had completely botched the COVID pandemic and told people to put lights up their ass and inject bleach after the hurricane that devastated Puerto Rico and he was throwing them paper towels like shooting free throws, after he was caught trying to blackmail Ukraine into manufacturing dirt on his political rivals, after he tried calling George Brad Raffensperger down there in Georgia to just find him a few more votes to have the election. All of that, after all of it, after being adjudicated as a rapist, after defaming E. Jean Carroll, after all that, since 2015, he came along in 2024, said, I'm going to release the Epstein files. I'm not going to do any more wars. And I'm going to make prices lower. And you all went, oh, yeah, okay, I trust you. Of course you would. You wouldn't lie to us. Fucking dipshits. Oh, the other thing off this Joe Rogan thing with Shane Gillis. Oh, this is the quote I was looking for. Shane Gillis says, free healthcare is cool. We should have that. That's not communism. And Joe Rogan replies, you should treat the entire country like it's a community. If you have a community, would you want the sickest person to fucking die, so who could be very valuable if you could take care of them, and if you have the resources to take care of them? Take care of them. This is the problem with capitalism. This is the reason people turn on all these billionaires. Okay, so I guess I should be thankful that Joe Rogan has finally come around to my point of view, which is treat the United States of America and think of universal health care. Think of it like every citizen is a soldier fighting for the survival of our country in a global economic war. You wouldn't let your soldiers get sick or hungry, would you? I mean, if you're not Pete Hegseth and the USS Abraham Lincoln, right? Because nobody bats an eye at the socialism of the United States military. You sign on the dotted line that you will defend the country, and boom, we're ready to give you free health care, free housing, free meals, a discounted PX to buy stuff at, free transportation to get to your job, place to place, a pension when you retire. Boy, you want to carry a gun and shoot people for Uncle Sam? We got all the socialism you could ask for. Take that model, replace guns and war with global economy, replace soldier with citizen. It's the same thing. Why would we want to have able-bodied men and women sleeping in tents in our cities who could be working, who could be able-bodied workers, who could be contributing to our society, and keeping that blight off of our streets for the rest of us? Why wouldn't we want to put them in homes? Why wouldn't we want to start them in job training, get them some health care, get them healthy and back on their feet and contributing to our society and our economy? I'm glad Rogan's coming around to this. I'm glad Gillis is coming around to this. Don't know what took you so long, guys.
Or what about that moment in Field of Dreams?
I think I know what if you build it, he will come means.
I mean, it's not like gambling or liquor, even women.
What you mean if you build it, they gonna come?
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
I see baseball had its Field of Dreams game. Field of Dreams. You remember the movie Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams? He builds a baseball field out in the middle of a cornfield in Iowa. The ghosts, if you build it, he will come. They will come. Build it, they will come. Right? You remember the whole thing, right? So baseball, trying to cash in on that nostalgia, went and built a field out there in the corn in Iowa. The Field of Dreams field. You look at the field, it's a regular baseball field out there in past the lights where there'd normally be stands and stuff. There's corn. So it's the Field of Dreams, right? And so the picture from the game they had of the Field of Dreams game, there's a member of the Minnesota Twins jumping up the wall trying to catch a ball that's going to go for a home run. And he's positioned right between a Mountain Dew logo and a FanDuel logo. So we have the Field of Dreams game based on a movie that mythologizes the 1919 Chicago Black Sox scandal, Shoeless Joe Jackson and the players that were banned from baseball for life for gambling. And now sports gambling is sponsoring Field of Dreams games. My God. This sports gambling is just off the hook. And I never thought it should be illegal because, I'm against prohibition, generally speaking. I generally think if people want to do things, they should be allowed to do them. And they should be regulated in such a way commensurate with the potential for harm to self and others. With that in mind, illegal gambling was a problem because you had, the bookies and running the numbers and breaking your legs and just, crime associated with it. On the other hand, this opened the floodgates. You have a casino in your pocket that's sending you push messages that automatically can be set to automatically deduct money from your bank account to auto bet on the regular. I don't think that's the level of regulation commensurate with the potential for harm to self and society that I was looking for. I've long had a theory that when it comes to drugs, that drugs should not be advertised. Was it Chris Rock or Eddie Murphy? I can't remember who had the line that drugs advertise themselves. You don't sell drugs. Drugs sell themselves, right? Maybe it was Chris Rock. But I don't think anything addictive should be advertised. But what's the point of advertising, right? Advertising, marketing, is the art of creating a need where none exists, for manufacturing a desire for something. Cornflakes, right? You might have lots of choices for breakfast: cornflakes, Raisin Bran, Rice Krispies. So we're going to make an ad to let you know how great cornflakes are. Remember cornflakes? You ought to have some cornflakes, right? You need that. Nobody needs an ad. Cocaine is wonderful. Cocaine will get you high. You ought to try some cocaine. Nobody needs that ad. Everybody knows that about cocaine. I think the same thing should exist for sports betting. It should be legal, sure, but it should not be advertised. You should not be able to send push notifications. Everything. So like, let me give you an idea here, what I'm talking about. In Amsterdam, and we're going back pre-US weed legalization, right? Way back in the day when weed was completely illegal in the United States. And if you wanted to have any experience as to what legal weed was, you had to go to Amsterdam to one of those coffee shops. And Rick Steves told me this story. Rick Steves, the PBS travel guy, that when you go to Europe and you went to the cafe to get your cannabis, there'd be a menu there. And in order to get your cannabis, you had to specify, like there was a light, you had to actually light up the menu. Like the menu wasn't automatically lit up. You had to go and ask to see what was on the menu, like by pushing a button, and then the menu would light up. Because they felt drugs should not be advertised. It shouldn't be an advertisement for the drug. You should have to be going to get the drug and then asking for what it costs and what kind of drugs there were. So no passive advertising of the drug. You had to actively push the button to get the advertising. So that kind of mental idea here, do something that with sports gambling, right? First of all, ads on the games, ads in the sports talk shows, in the sports news on ESPN, ads on the field, on their uniforms. No ads. Get rid of all of that. It should not be legal for sports gambling, for any gambling, to advertise. Hell, I see this all the time too when I'm watching like the free TV apps like Tubi, and they have one of those ad breaks where it says 1 of 8 ads, and there's like 8 ads that 5 of the 8 ads are for online casino. I just joined Joy Luck Casino. I won $800. All these fucking online phone gambling ads. Not even sports gambling, just casino gambling. I think in 20 years or so, we're going to look back at this like, why in the world did we allow such rampant, open, easy access to sports gambling? There needs to be some friction to this. At least in the old days when it was sports gambling, illegal, the friction was you had to walk down to the bodega and you had to find Vinny, the bookie, and you had to go get the cash, and there was some action to it, some movement, some friction. Now it's just pull out your phone and it's already made the bet for you based on an auto bet based off of an automatic deduction off your account. Yeah, this is going to cause some problems. And I'm reading so many of these young men, like, what was it, like 40% of them have an active online sports gambling account? That's just insane. And you can't think that this isn't going to ruin the integrity of the games. It already has in many instances. It's just going to get worse, especially with these prediction markets and these bets, these prop bets where you can bet on literally anything. Is the announcer going to say boom shakalaka? Is the pitcher going to step off of the mound for a second? Any possible thing can be bet on. And to me, certain sort of bets should also be illegal. I think any bet where one player could manipulate that bet should be illegal. Like, there's a prop bet you can make, will such and such player miss his first free throw? Well, think of how easy that is from the player's perspective to want to cheat with. It's just one free throw. It's the first free throw. It's going to be at the very, probably first quarter of the game. It's not really going to have an effect on the end of the rest of the game. It's the first free throw, so you still got the second free throw. It's not like a cause of possession problem. Who's going to notice if I miss just the first free throw? So any sort of bet like that, where I, as the single individual player, have this enormous opportunity to make money and very little risk of getting caught, very little risk of it affecting the game, that's just going to be too much for people to resist. It's going to affect the integrity of the game. So I don't know what sort of bill to write about this. I don't know how you get this done politically, because the minute you start trying to go after sports gambling and have all those sports bros screaming about freedom and free markets and anti-prohibition, I hope some better political minds than I have some ideas on what to do about this.
You roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
And that's the end of this joint, my friends. The Radical Russ Show is planted, grown, harvested, trimmed, packaged, and rolled up by me, Radical Russ Belville, and governed by Creative Commons share-alike licensing. News, music, video clips, and social media posts are reproduced under fair use copyright laws for commentary and analysis. My main theme is We Love the Herb by Herbal Nation, and interstitial music is by Russ Boom Boom Belville.
What's the boom boom for?
Boom, boom, boom.
Which brings us to our post-credits scene.
How do we do this shit, man?
Oh, God, not again.
But I don't think that will be necessary.
Okay, so all this week, apparently, there's been an ongoing discussion on Blue Sky with Tom Nichols. And if you don't know, Tom Nichols goes by Radio Free Tom online. He's a former Soviet and Russian expert who's a staff writer at The Atlantic now. And he's kind of the never-Trumper gadfly over on Blue Sky. And so this argument has been going down because Tom is really upset that college kids get to vote in the city and state where they go to college. He's really upset that college kids get to vote where they go to college at, because they come in and they vote for all these tax levies, these liberal progressive tax levies to help fix their schools, and then they go back home. They don't even live there and have to pay property taxes, but he, being the rich patrician type he is, has to pay the extra property taxes now that all these pesky college kids went and voted on. So it's been going for 2 or 3 days, and people coming up in the comments and arguing, well, they have to pay out-of-state tuition. If they have to pay out-of-state tuition, obviously they don't live in that state. They shouldn't get to vote in that state, and blah, blah, blah. And where their parents, and they're on their parents' insurance, and their parents live back in the other state. So they've said all these excuses going round and round and round about why college kids shouldn't be able to vote in the place they live 75% of the time. Now, my response to this is simple. It has nothing to do with out-of-state tuitions or anything like that. It just has to do with a very simple concept that it's about 250 years old now. That government is only derived from the just consent of the governed. If I'm living at a college 75% of the time, that's where I'm being governed. The officials in that state who make laws and regulations will affect that college where I'm going to school and where I happen to live. So of course I should get to vote where I live and where the decisions of elected officials can directly affect my college education. But even take college out of the equation. Take all that out of the equation. Let's just boil it down to this. Let's say I'm homeless. I'm homeless, and I beg for change to live on the street corners. Now, 51% of the time, I do that in Ontario, Oregon, and 49% of the time, I cross the bridge over the Snake River and I beg in Fruitland, Idaho. In which state do I get to vote? I don't pay taxes. I'm homeless, right? I don't pay any taxes. I'm absolutely dirt poor. I don't pay any tuition anywhere, no out-of-state residency, anything like that. I don't even have an official residence. I don't have a house address. My physical body is in Oregon 183 days of the year, and it's in Idaho 182 days of the year. In which state am I legally allowed to vote? If the answer is Oregon, because I'm there one more day over 50% of the time, then college kids get to vote where they go to college. End of discussion. You can contact me by email at radicalruss@gmail.com. Call my message line at 877-RUSS-420. That's 877-877-420. And reach me on social media on Blue Sky as radicalruss.com and nowhere else. You can support this podcast financially by donating to @RadicalRuss on Venmo, RadRuss on Cash App, or via PayPal on my website at radicalruss.com. It would make a nice wedding gift. Get this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, my website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and until next week. Thanks for listening, and until next time, take care of each other.
Take it on one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it.